Good morning. Have you ever wondered, what do I really have to give to Jesus? What do I really have that I can do? What can you just feel inadequate? Like I don't have great wealth, or I don't have great oratory skills. I don't have whatever it is that we think we don't have, and wondered, what really do I do? What can I do? I want to remind you of a story that I think all of us, who at least who've been in church, have heard. And it's found in Luke 7:36 through 44. It's a very precious story. It says, and one of the Pharisees desired him, speaking of Jesus, that he would eat with him. And when he went to the Pharisee's house and sat down to meat, and behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at meat in the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment, stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with the hairs of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that toucheth him, for she is a sinner. And Jesus answering, said unto him, and notice there, he thought this within himself, and Jesus answered him, Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he said, Master, say on. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. The one owed 500 pence, and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, seest thou this woman? I entered into thine house, thou gavest me no water for my feet, but she hath washed my feet with her tears, and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman since the time I came in hath not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman hath anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which were many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, Who is this that forgiveth sins also? And he said to the woman, Thy faith has saved thee. Go in peace. You know, probably she met Jesus somewhere before, probably experienced forgiveness. And here she heard that he was in town going to eat the Pharisee's house. And when guests were there in this day, they would leave the door and everybody was welcome to come in to see. And she slipped in, seeing the door was open, and she immediately made a beeline to Jesus. She had a flask of ointment, of a perfume. And as she made her way around, the tears began to flow. She began to wash his feet with her tears and to dry them, pat them dry with her hair. And then she opened that ointment and poured it on him, poured the perfume, and I'm sure that the aroma just filled the room. It was a custom then, when a guest came into your house, that you would offer them water for their feet. You would greet them with a kiss on the neck, and give them water for the feet. And then you give them some kind of perfume kind of thing for the hair, because you walked in and people were hot and sweaty. They come in, and it was just a way of kind of showing respect, showing courtesy, and also just kind of helping the aromas of life. And he said, you didn't do anything. You didn't greet me the way that you would greet a friend, or the way that you would honor a guest that you've invited to speak. Somebody he calls master, calls teacher. And he says, and you didn't give me any water to wash the dirt off my feet. And she's doing this with her tears. And he says, though her sins were many, they've been forgiven. She loved much. She loved much. We all have something to give. It may not be so much a physical thing as it is we have our love to give. We can show our love by how we respond to others. We can show our love by how much we engage in and enjoy reading Scripture, how much time we spend with Christ in prayer and in Bible reading. How much time do we spend tending to His people? How much time do we spend tending to those who need to know Him? We all have something that we can give. Even when we think we have nothing to give, we all have something to give, and that is ourselves. This is what she did. She gave of herself. She showed her penance. She showed her passion for Christ. She showed her love for Christ because she was willing to come into a place where she knew she would be mocked and ridiculed by the men because of her history. We don't know what her sins were. We can guess, but we don't know what her sins were. But Jesus said, though her sins, which are many, they are forgiven. She didn't care what others would say. She just wanted to show her love to Christ. We shouldn't care what others say. We should just show our love to Christ. If we do that, there will be mockers. There will be those who say things about us, those who don't like us, those who hate us, those who do all sorts of things, say all sorts of things, and none of that matters. All that matters is that though we once were lost in our sin, now we are saved. And that should draw us in a love relationship to the one who gave his only begotten Son to die for us. So what do we have to give? Well, maybe you have lots of money. Maybe you have lots of stuff. But even if you have nothing, you have everything because we have ourselves to give. And that's what Christ wants most. Us. Let's give ourselves to Christ. Whether that is in reading and praying, or that is in sharing the love of God to others. We all have something we can do. We can imitate this woman, and we can love much. Do we love Christ much? If not, it's easy to get there. Just change our minds today and decide, God, I'm going to show you my love. Stop and think about what God has done for us. If we have a hard time getting to that point, just stop, grab a piece of paper, grab a notebook, and start writing down all the things that God has done. And see if you can't find that he deserves our love and deserves much love. Love Christ this week.